You spend years building a future with someone, and it takes just one conversation to tear it all down. For 4 years, Sarah and I had been building a life together, a life that felt as solid as bedrock. We met in college, survived long distance after graduation, and finally moved into a cozy little apartment just outside of Austin. Everything was falling into place. Our wedding was just a few days away, and every detail had been carefully planned. From the hand-picked venue to the playlist for the reception, our families were thrilled. Friends kept joking that we were the couple everyone wanted to be. I felt certain, peaceful, like I was standing at the edge of the biggest moment of my life, and everything ahead of me was clear and bright. Sarah and I would stay up late, laughing about honeymoon plans, debating baby names for someday. She even left sticky notes around the apartment, little reminders that she loved me and couldn't wait to become my wife. If you'd asked me then, I would have said without hesitation, this is it, this is forever. I had no idea that everything I believed in was about to crumble faster than I could even process. It was a Thursday night, nothing fancy, just the two of us at home, takeout containers on the coffee table, and old movie playing in the background. The kind of night that felt comfortable, familiar, safe. Sarah curled up next to me, her head resting on my shoulder. We talked about little things, how excited she was to see her cousins at the wedding, how she couldn't wait to wear her dress. I remember thinking this is what happiness looks like. But then, somewhere between laughing at a cheesy movie scene and planning the weekend, something shifted. She got quiet. Her fingers fidgeted with the edge of the blanket. She stared at the TV, not really seeing it. I could feel it. That invisible weight in the room pressing down on us. Hey, I said, nudging her gently. You okay? She forced a small smile and said, there's just something I need to talk to you about. My stomach tightened. It wasn't what she said. It was how she said it, like she was about to break something fragile, and I had no idea it was me. That moment, I didn't know my world was about to tilt off its axis. But I could feel it starting to move. Sarah took a deep breath, like she was diving underwater and didn't know if she'd come back up. I've been thinking, she started, her voice barely above a whisper. Before we get married, maybe we should talk about keeping things open. I blinked, confused. Open? What do you mean, open? She twisted the ring on her finger, avoiding my eyes. You know, exploring, seeing other people, just keeping our options open while we figure things out. For a second, I genuinely thought she was joking. I even laughed, one short, hollow sound, waiting for her to crack a smile and say she was kidding. She didn't. Instead, she looked at me with this strange mix of guilt and hope. Like she really believed I might just nod and agree to blow up the life we spent years building. My mind raced, trying to make sense of it. The wedding invitations had already been sent. The dress was hanging in our closet. Our parents were counting down the days. How could she be thinking about options now? I felt like I was falling, like the ground beneath me had turned to air and I had nothing to grab onto. And the worst part, some small, desperate part of me still wanted to fix it. I sat there, stunned, searching for the right words, any words that might pull us back from this cliff. Sarah, I said slowly, we're getting married in 3 days. This isn't something you just spring on someone at the last minute. She crossed her arms, defensive. I'm not saying I don't love you. I just think it would be healthier if we didn't trap ourselves. Trap ourselves, like building a life together was some kind of prison. I tried to stay calm. I asked her if there was someone else. She swore there wasn't, but her eyes, they told a different story, that same flicker of guilt she couldn't quite hide. She accused me of overreacting, said I was being closed-minded, that modern couples did this all the time. I barely heard her. It felt like the person sitting in front of me wasn't the woman I knew. She was a stranger now, speaking a language I couldn't understand. And somewhere in the middle of that argument, something inside me broke. Quietly. I stood up, grabbed my jacket off the chair. I can't marry someone who treats commitment like a backup plan, I said. Her face crumpled, but I didn't stay to watch. I walked out the door, out of our apartment, out of our future, and into the unknown. The first night after I walked out, my phone lit up nonstop. First Sarah, then her sister, then mutual friends, one after another. Missed calls, voicemails, text messages that swung wildly between pleading and furious. Please just talk to her. She's heartbroken, you're being cruel. You're really going to blow up everything over one conversation? The guilt started clawing at me, but then so did the anger, because somewhere along the way the story had shifted. I wasn't the one who got blindsided days before my own wedding. I was the villain now, the one who gave up too easily, who ran away instead of working through it. It was easier for people to blame me than to admit the truth. Sarah had cracked the foundation. I just refused to pretend the house was still standing. A few days later, little pieces of the real story started leaking out. Whispers from friends who couldn't keep secrets, Hints that Sarah had already tested the waters months ago, that this idea of exploring wasn't new, she just finally decided to confess. It hit me like a second betrayal, not just her doubts, but the lies wrapped in smiles for all those months. Canceling the wedding wasn't just a phone call. It was a funeral for a future that would never happen. I spent an entire morning on the phone, the venue, the caterers, the florist, each call ending the same way: sorry. The deposit is non-refundable. Thousands of dollars gone. Plans that took months to build, erased in minutes. Returning the tux, canceling hotel blocks for guests, emailing people who had already booked flights to tell them, without giving too much detail, that the wedding was off. Every step was a new kind of grief. Some friends stood by me, others didn't. I started noticing the distance, the coldness from people who once called me family. A few even said I was selfish, that I overreacted, that everyone has doubts before a wedding. But deep down, I knew I couldn't marry someone who saw commitment as optional. I deserved more than someone who needed to explore right before promising forever. A week later, I packed up Sarah's things from our apartment, every photo, every note, every tiny piece of a life that no longer belonged to me, and dropped them off at her sister's house. No goodbyes. No last conversations. It was done. The first few weeks after it all ended were the hardest. The silence in the apartment was deafening. Every corner carried a memory I didn't ask to keep: her laugh in the kitchen, her favorite coffee mug on the shelf. I started therapy, not because someone told me to, but because I knew I couldn't outrun this alone. Once a week, I sat in a small room with a worn-out couch, talking to a stranger who didn't judge me for feeling broken. We peeled back the layers, not just about Sarah, but about me. Why I ignored the little red flags, why I mistook comfort for real trust, why I believed love meant sacrificing parts of myself. I forced myself out of the apartment, too, joined a hiking group, started volunteering at a local animal shelter, anything to remind myself there was still a world outside of what I lost. And slowly, very slowly, the pain began to shift. It didn't disappear, it just stopped controlling me. There were nights I still missed what we almost had, but for the first time in a long time, I realized missing someone didn't mean they belonged in your life. It's been almost a year. Now, sometimes people ask if I regret walking away. If I ever wonder what if, and honestly, no, not even for a second. I don't regret choosing myself. I don't regret refusing to settle for half-hearted love dressed up as modern thinking. I don't regret demanding the kind of loyalty I was always willing to give. What I do regret is not seeing my own worth sooner. The truth is, real love doesn't come with conditions like only if it's convenient or only if I don't get bored. Real love stands firm even when it's hard, even when life gets messy, even when doubts creep in. I know that now, and because I know that, I know I'm ready, not for just anyone, but for someone who chooses me the way I choose them, without hesitation, without fear, without needing to keep their options open. I'm not angry anymore. I'm not broken. I'm free, and for the first time in a long time, I'm exactly where I'm meant to be.